Hello, Nick Borelli from Zenus.
Hello.
Is Zenus AI or do you just go by Zenus?
Zenus. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Tell us what Zenus does and what's the problem that you're trying to solve for event planners.
Yeah, boy, event planners have a lot of problems. So we'll start right there. We can do anything to empower them and get them the resources they need. That's the big problem. So we chip away at that. I think we do that by giving them the information that they not necessarily have about what their impact of each one of their experiences are. And then we do that by telling them what happened in the same way that in digital, there's so much wealth of information as far as what happened with what you put out, be it Google Analytics for websites or the analytics that you get from social media advertising and digital, you get to know the whole story. We help planners understand the whole story. So we do that, little small cameras hooked up to a little box, and it plugs in and it looks at an audience. It looks at a session audience. It looks at trade show floor. And what it can tell you is things like impressions, things like dwell rates. How much time did people spend? What percentage of those impressions lasted for more than 15 seconds or so, just in the same way that web analytics do. And then we can also tell you sentiment, which it's all done by math. So this camera, it's not recording anything. It's just looking for objects that it considers faces, and every second it takes a digital snapshot of those data points and it measures the change. You don't really care about that, planners. All you care about is what's in it for me, and that is you get to determine how many people experienced your activation, your event, your trade show booth, how many people stuck around, and how many people had a positive reaction to that. And then we can also tell with that same mathematical equations that are going on, how many of those people were in specific demographics. That's all able to be measured in order to empower you. So you can say, we made a difference. This accomplished our goal, and we accomplished it by this much. And you can make choices from there.
So you employ artificial intelligence. That's part of the math, right?
Yeah.
What is the difference between facial recognition and facial analysis?
Yeah. So facial recognition, it's recording, and it knows the face as an individual face, as the specific face. It has access to a database, be it a database that is closed of people who at maybe a registration submitted their biometrics, their face, and tied it to the information at registration in order for it to identify, oh, there's Michelle. I know that this is you, and I know what you're doing from this point on. I'm tracking you. I'm following you as an individual. Then that data is stored somewhere, and it has accessible by so many people, and that's what that is. The other negative potential is that you could tie it to other databases of information associated with your face, or other databases of information associated with you, and there's implications there. And there's ways that organizations can say that like that's a closed system. Fair enough. What we do is pretty different, in as much as we don't know who you are as an individual. We're not tying it to any databases. We're not recording anything. It's just data sets. So it sees objects and it goes face, not face, face, not face. On the objects that it considers faces, as it recognizes that this is a face, it starts to pay attention to what's happening to that face. Is it reacting? Is it leaving? How long did it stay there? And what direction did we move? These types of data points add up to understanding the impact of any kind of experience, any kind of message that's happening in real life. But the key difference is that there's no biometrics used, and there's no personal identifiable information recorded, which means that you don't have to get in a lengthy sort of ethical or legal or privacy conversation as far as where you deploy these, because nothing is retained about any one person.
So what stakeholders benefit the most? You mentioned planners.
Yeah.
There's also sort of a knock-on effect for other stakeholders in events. Explain that.
Yeah, the whole ecosystem potentially benefits from the use of this. Everyone associated with an event benefits from having more information as far as the impact of what they did in the event. So if you are, as small as an individual who is a presenter, and you could learn what moments in your presentation were the highest energy and which moments, maybe just for a specific demographic, you had low energy. You would be able to look at the video itself and it'd say a minute 13, you kind of lost everybody who was over 60 and a woman. Well, what did you say at that point? Is there a way that you could craft your message better? So even as low as an individual speaker benefits, but even an individual, maybe sales representative at a booth would say that they're, on their side of the booth, they would say that they're keeping people longer, and they could tie it to their own personal closing percentage and say, when I have conversations that are longer than 5 minutes, my closing rate goes up by 30%, if you have that information as well. So there's that. And then we work our way up to sponsors. Did this, I have a big sign somewhere that I paid for that people can see my logo. What did that do for me? I have no idea. Well, if there was one of our kits that we're looking at that, we could tell you actually how many impressions, in the same way that a banner ad would on a website, how many people that dwelled in the positive reaction you had to that. So before, you basically get how many people signed up for that event. That's it. You don't really get metrics associated with signage sponsorship. So that's another low level player. The trade show booth, exhibitor themselves would get to know, the actual funnel of their event. So they would see, everything. Usually what they normally see is, tickets sold, leads captured. That's it. And we would tell you everything in between that, as far as the impressions and the dwell rates and the sentiment, to determine, is there an element of your booth that could be improved upon? And then for the show organizer, they get all of those things so they can make their speakers better. They can help their exhibitors and they can help their sponsors, see the value in what they get. They can help that individual salesperson potentially, say, longer is better or shorter is better. They can tell the exhibitor at the booth, this is, your message is really great, but not with this group. So consider, maybe changing that, under 40 maybe isn't recognizing what you're saying, or maybe use more screens. They can compare other booths to other booths to determine best practices. They can see traffic patterns to determine this is actually a better space to be in, especially at this time of day, because there's a coffee break. All of this stuff, or the top sessions, or every time somebody mentions AI in their sessions, it turns out to be one of the highest energy moments. So let's have more programming based on that. So all the way up at the higher end of the ecosystem, you get all of the benefits. You get to really see how you can be a difference maker and an empowerer of the people within your event world. But even if you come in at the lowest level, as an individual, you can still benefit.
So what kinds of events and experiences are the best fit for the use of the Zenus platform?
Really small meetings are probably not a good fit. We need to have enough sample size, a couple dozen people, to be able to have a high effectiveness of the results of what we have. So when people say like, oh, I want to bring you in for my meeting with 3 people and 3 people, that's not a good fit for us. So, some kind of scale, but it doesn't have to be that many. I mean, like literally, we've got 30 people, we're good. We can get to 95% accuracy. The ones that do the best are the ones with the most amount of stakeholders. That really, like I said, if you've got both speakers and exhibitors and sponsors and maybe activations, we can really help at all levels. And then really it ends up coming into the most value for people who want to test things, because that's what we're doing. We're giving you the results, but you have to have really good tests. And if you want to say, for instance, because 40 by 40 is better than 10 by 10 for the exhibitor themselves, right? Now, the commitment to that is probably 4x the investment, but is it 4x the results? And here's the thing, is it 5x the results? Is it 6? Because if you tell me as an exhibitor 4x more and you get 6x out of it, I say yes, no problem. And if you could prove that, not just say it's better, but prove that to a point of like, here's a bunch of data to back up a bigger investment with us has bigger results, then those are the people that do really, really well with us, that know that they want to prove these things, that know that they want to have something tested. We're really, really great at being sort of objective answers to big questions.
Great. That's it.
Great.
Fantastic, as
Excellent.
usual. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. I will see you in Dallas.
Yeah, I'm actually not going to be in Dallas, but our team's
then I
going to be.
won't.
Yeah, sorry, but
See Panos.
You'll see Panos. You get to see people with much more charming accents. You'll get to see people with lots of cool experience. And then you'll probably see me in some Expo webinars coming up real soon.
Sounds really good.